I found this method, this concept in 2011. We at the North Carolina Wood Turning Symposium. We had a guy there from France, Pascal Odette. He's quite an artist. He's done all kinds of stuff, and you'll see a little bit of this stuff on the screen, on the top right and left. What it is we cut a piece real thin, and in this case, I did a couple cylinders, and we cut it. This is the center. This is the pith of a piece. This is about an 8-inch piece like this, and I cut it across the pith this way first. Then I cut it out and made this cylinder. What we normally have done a lot more of is just a disc. Again, this is the pith, and this was a small piece, and then the pith does not contract by drying, whereas the outside does, and that's what makes the disc shape, the cone shape, so you might say. So what we do is cut it 1.5 millimeters thick, and then after you let it dry, then we take and immerse it in. No, I'm sorry. First, we'll sandblast it, and you'll see the sandblasting piece here, and it's hard to do if you're not. If you can't see too well, and I had problems seeing because my sandblaster would fog up on the inside, and so then I would get too aggressive. But that's the pretty part of it. I have another one here, someplace here. Excuse me. You can see how that shows through. And again, I didn't do a really terrible good job on that, but you can see how it becomes like a lace. So now what makes it turn black is oak and a lot of other pieces of wood, kinds of wood, has tannin in it. And tannin is a naturally occurring substance, and when we take the piece of wood and immerse it into a vinegar solution with some steel wool in it, like 4/0 steel wool. Leave it set in there for at least a day so that it can chemically react. Then after we cut this off, it'll be cone shaped because it'll dry. Then we immerse it into this vinegar, and it turns black. And the tannin in it is what reacts and makes it black. And in fact, tannin is often used to tan wood, tan leather. And if it's properly tanned in leather, I guess it's antibacterial property too. So you'll see what we'll do here. Now we'll demonstrate this. It's not that terrible hard. You have to pay attention to what you're doing, but it's not that hard. First, what we try to do is I'll try to make a nice flat surface, and if I feel here it's a little bit cone shaped. Oops, we got to do it the right direction. There we go. Now we go. And what I try to do with the gouge is I try to cut right from the beginning, get it lined up properly, and then I like to cut all the way to the center without stopping if at all possible. See, now I stopped, but it slipped off. But take one cut all the way down there as far as possible without stopping, which I, of course, am not doing too good a job there right now. And the reason I want to do that is I have to do less sanding. Yeah, bottom feeder, that's what I should have, right. Okay, now what I'll do is sand it, because this is a finished piece now. And any uneven parts, any humps, tool marks will show up in the end. So I just sanded. I just got 80 grit in here, and it's wet. It's pretty wet. This has been cut a couple weeks. No, about a week it's been cut. But I put a piece of blue towel on it and let it seep up and stay wet, so that it's wet right now. Okay. Now we'll come in here and we'll start our cut. See if I can get this lined up to where we need to have it. Out there. And I'll start with a gouge, detail gouge. And just bring this up a little bit. Come from the back side. And get it started. Now what we'll do is measure that and see what we have. I use my micrometer. And I'm actually probably a little bit less. Now I'm right at 1.5 millimeters. 1.5 millimeters. So that's the outside part of it. It's not perfect, but it's close. A little bit of breakout here, and that's okay for right now, because a little bit of that is going to come off anyway. So then, using detail gouges to come on in there, let me first just get rid of some wood, because we got to get rid of this sometime or other. Then come in with a detail gouge. And I only go maximum of 1/4 of an inch. Using the bevel right against that inside cut. And I start measuring right away. Now we know this is inch 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter. Let me measure it again. I'm just a little fat on the bottom of that cut. On the bottom of the cut, I'm a little bit fat. Okay, so I'm only 1/4 of an inch, not even 1/4 of an inch. So then come in behind here, and I can scrape that a little bit, so I know that I have maximum of 1.5 millimeters. And the oak is nice and firm. It's nice and strong. It's a strong wood, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. So now get rid of a little bit more wood. And I'm not at the small diameter here. And then I take my little detail gouge and come in here very carefully. About 3/16 inch more. And then I measure it. I'm a little bit tight. Now I can come back and redo that, but only about 3/16 at a time. If you go more than that, then you're liable to get into trouble. So I need a little bit more, and I can see the previous cut where I had stopped. So I come in there, and it's a real fine cut. And let's measure again. And now I can go down to the bottom of that original cut. So I'm the correct thickness. Okay. Now with the detail gouge again, where I stopped cutting before. Okay, that's about a maximum of 3/16 of an inch again. And now let's see what it is. I think it's going to be a little bit too thick. Yeah, right there, it's a little thick. So I'll go back in, and you can't do more than a 1/4 inch. I try to stay less than that. And I can see where I quit the previous cut very carefully. And you gotta have your tools sharp. It will not work if you're not nice and sharp. Now I'm down. It's a little bit snug. If I measure that now, at the bottom of my cut, I'm about 2 meters. So I like to have it less than that. So I'll go back in the last 3/16 of an inch, and if I'm really careful and a slow cut, it's just about like sanding. Now let's see if I took off enough. It's a little tight, but it'll do it. And then I do the same thing. And a nice, smooth, thin cut. I'm going to make 2 cuts this time. That's probably about 2 millimeter. Now I'm going to try to go down to 1.5. Let's see where we are. And what you'll notice is as you turn, this thing will start drying out, and the center will stay, the outside will curve out. The one thing I found is this is live oak. And live oak is not as nice as white oak is in doing this. I'm a little bit tight again there, so I'm going to try to trim that last 1/4 inch down a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's working. Yep, I'm there. And we continue that on, but the last bit of it down in here, when you get down to about 3/8 of an inch, or maybe even close to half, then I take a back saw and I part it off. I don't think I'm going to go all the way down with that. I'm going to use the other piece of wood and show you that too. But you can see what it is now. You can see right through that. I can see my finger through there. You see the shadow? So that shows to me that I'm about the right thickness. Shall I try to do the other piece too? Where is my other piece? Oh, it's down there. No, I'm going to go ahead with this, I think. I'm going to go ahead with this. I'm going to give you a lot of shavings in the shop here, Frank. Now we're going on down there, and now we'll go on down. Let me see if I can't get this tool rest down in there a little bit further. Just a little bit more support down in there. There. See if that is a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Don't get quite as much chatter. And we'll stop, measure. Where'd my caliper go? Right here. It's all covered up. Little bit tight, so let me trim it off a little bit more. And when I look at this from this side, I actually like to have a light coming straight down on the inside, so you can see every little place stopped cutting the previous cut. If you're real careful about that, you can see how thick it is. Takes just a little time, but really we're progressing quite well. There we go. I'm sure I'm pretty close to 1.5. Okay. Generally, what you want to do here is you want to work fairly fast because of the drying that's happening when you're cutting. And you think you get until you get used to it, you're kind of apprehensive about cutting it too thin, but a little bit of practice and you won't cut it too thin. It really works quite well. I'll just trim this up a little bit more. There. Yep, I'm pretty close. Okay, just a little more. Make sure I measure it before I go too far. If we measure it quite often, we won't get too thin. There. Yep. Perfect. Okay. Now we'll go down in a little bit longer, further. Now I know that cut is just a little bit thick. I'm going to measure it again. Yeah, that gets too tight. I could feel it when I was doing the cutting. Just use that bevel to guide you, and you won't get too thin. It's easy to get thicker, but it really isn't that hard to prevent you from getting too thin. You know, it's not hard. I'm going to try to get this in there a little bit closer if possible. There we go. Now, a little tight. Okay. Use the bevel. A little bit is just the shavings that come off of there is just like sanding. Control it that much by the bevel. Now let's see where we are. Little bit snug, but I think we're all right. Just a little. Maybe I'll try to, quote, sand off a little bit there. It's still a little thick. Yep. Still a little thick. Let me use my other gouge. Okay, now let's measure it again. That's better. That's better. I can feel it loosen up there. Okay. Now, one more time here. Okay. Perfect. Only have a little bit more to go, and then we're going to have it made. Let's see how we go. Yep, we're good. And I'm a little strong on a 1/2 inch there. So I'm going to go a little bit further if possible. I'm getting a little bit of a wobble here. Okay. One more cut here. Okay. And the wobble is getting just perfect. The wobble is getting a little more pronounced. So then we just bring in, cut real nice. This really is not as hard as it looks. I mean, if I can do it, any of you can do it. First time I tried to do it, I tried to go all the way down and cut it off with my detail gouge, and I broke the center out. It's getting pretty floppy there, so there's not much support there anymore. There we go. And now, see how it's curved? Like a disc. So what I simply do now is the center part, it's a little thicker. 80 grit. Now for demonstration purposes, I went ahead and selected this. It's a nice design here in the middle. This may kind of open up just a teeny bit as it dries. But what we'll do is we'll let it dry. And then after it dries, then we'll sandblast it. And then we'll do the magic tannin deal. And that's what we have here. And you'll notice I got a little spot here that's dark. I spilled it, and that became dark. Now let's see how. I don't know how soon this will change here, but it won't take long. Might take 15 minutes to really take hold, but I have the steel wool in here and vinegar. Now I did add a few drops of a of a alcohol-based dye to make it a little darker. But normally I don't do that. I was just experimenting, and so then I ended up leaving this as is and decided to just go ahead and use it for the demo tonight. But you can see how it darkened down previously by just spilling it a little bit, and it's set there. It's starting to turn in here already. And that's really the simple part of it until we get to sandblasting it. And when I showed the sandblasting earlier, this is what we did. And you can see the effect that it has here. It makes it look like lace. And that's the neat part about it, the whole thing. And if you look at the top in the top right and left, this gentleman from France, Pascal Odette, he's a real master at this. I didn't quite finish all of this because I wanted you to see the difference in that and how it shows. I can't sandblast this center, the pith part of it, the heartwood. It just does not work to try to sandblast that. That's too dense. But the outer part really, really works nice. And I have another piece at home I should have brought. I made a lidded box, and this is actually like this was like at a Y at a branch in the tree, so it has like two piths here. But if you have just one, if you carefully sandblast it all the way around there, then you get this little cone effect. And in this lidded box, I have about a 2-inch hole, and I have an inset and set it inside there. So then you can do your potpourri in there, and it makes the wife all happy about it. So that's the idea on it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it, in as far as enhancing it with some more dye, or just leaving it the gray color. Let's see how much this has changed now. See there, it's changed quite a bit already. So you can mess with the coloration and the tannin, the dyeing it down with the tannin. You could some of it is I've seen is a real deep red by dyeing it, and that really is a nice effect too. But we got a little bit left. It's worthless to me right now. I can't go in any further here because I have to have the angle of my detail gouge. That's about. I could do a little bit more, but not very much. So it's worthless. I can't do anything else with this. There you can see I touched it and how much that changes right there. The dye changes it immediately. I mean, the tannin responds immediately.
Oh, there's a question in the chat line. What medium do you use in your sandblaster, and what grit is it?
I wish I could remember. I bought that some years ago, and I still had plenty of it left. I don't know. It's a fine sand, real fine silica sand, and you need to wear a mask. You've got to wear a mask because that silica sand is not good for your lungs.
Well, how come you didn't pin that tailstop?
Didn't need to.
You don't need to?
Didn't need to. Nope.
I mean, isn't that like take some of the chatter out?
No.
Okay.
I didn't have any, I have not had any problems with any chatter or vibration on the piece itself.
So, Mo, a piece like you just created, or the one you showed us where you've already graded and sandblasted, what do you do with that disc now?
Okay, that's the neat part about it. It's the creativity that you can do afterwards in designing whatever you want. You can hang these discs up. I like to turn a lidded box or something and then insert it in that. That's the best. That's what I like to do.
Okay.
It is amazing how strong it is even now, even sandblasted. It's amazing how strong it is. I can bend it a little bit and it won't just break. It's pretty strong. Oak strong.
Yeah.
It really is a fun project. Let's see how much this has changed. See how much it's changed already there? And you can see how much has changed here.
Yeah.
That really has changed fast.
Now, did you try different woods or just oak?
I've only done oak. Pascal has done a lot of different kinds of wood. You see that one picture. It's a medium heartwood, and the outside is very light, and it makes a very, very nice concept. The other thing that I did, I showed you this earlier. I drilled it. Where's my other piece?
On the floor.
On the floor. Did it fall down? Okay, I put the piece in 8 inches big, approximately, maybe it's about 7 inches, like this. Okay? Then I drilled it right straight through. I turned it down so that it was round. Then I drilled it through here with 2 1/4 inches. After I got nice and straight in there, I did sand it just a little bit, not much, just to take the fuzz and stuff off so it's nice and smooth. Then I just commenced with turning this all the way back down here, and I did it at 5 1/2 inches deep drill. That's all I could go with the Forstner bit that I have. Then after I had it parted off, I just let it dry and see how misshapen it gets. So now we can do all kinds of stuff here. The other piece that I had here, did I say this before? I think I was saying it somewhere. I think I'll put a person's head on top of here, head and shoulders, and some feet. Then this is going to be the necktie. So just being creative with it. Just dream up. What is this? Then make something out of it. That's the part. Boy, look at how dark that has gotten over here. That is so neat. And again, if you like to mess with the color a little bit of alcohol-based dye, I dropped it in there in that vinegar solution, and it gives you that purple type color. You take some of it away when you sandblast it. Some of that goes away, but you could always do a little bit more later on if you want to. So,
if I remember right, in some of the pictures from the French gentleman, his had more of a natural wood tone.
Right.
Can you get back to a wood tone?
Yes, you can do do nothing to it. Do no tannin at all.
Oh, okay.
Just do the natural color. Let's do a little bit more here and see how fast that responds. It's amazing what that tannin does. And the little bit of steel wool, 3/0-aught, 4/0 steel wool, and that just really messes it up. But
so the tannin process isn't necessary for the sandblasting to be effective. You
no,
could have sandblasted just straight off the lathe.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, you should dry it. He says you need to dry it, and I think he's probably correct.
Okay.
Once you dry it, then it's the rings, you call it. The dark part of the ring is called late wood, and the light part of the ring is early wood. And so what you're doing is when you sandblast, is you take the early wood out, and the late wood stays there. The late wood is harder. It's it creates the pattern that you want. And again, like we said, don't do the tannin if you don't want to. Just use the natural wood, and it's beautiful. Especially, it would be nice if you would use that with rosewood, and the outside part of the rosewood, or any other color that you have a good separation in color between the center and the outside, and you get a real good effect on it. Any other questions?
So can you just take a piece of wood on your bandsaw and cut it like a veneer, and then sandblast it and wind up with the same lace effect?
You wouldn't be accurate enough.
Okay.
On the blade. Well, if you have a very, very, very good Bandsaw, you might be able to, but I seriously doubt it. Seriously doubt it. Because you got to control it nice and thin, or you can't sandblast it.
Yeah.
If it's not thin enough.
Technique is very much like making a hat.
Yeah, right, exactly. In fact, I have turned to hats, and it's really the same way. Now, he says, and I tried this too, put a light on this side, but you cannot gauge it very well on the thickness. That's why I gotta keep on measuring it as I go down in. I gotta keep measuring it to make sure that I don't get too thick. Because 1.5 is what you'd like to have. I have one that was about 1/4, and it was still fine. But 1.5 is what you want to go aim for. It's really not that hard, and you can see it didn't take me that long to do it. So if I can do it, I know you guys can. Okay? It's not that hard. And it's a lot of fun. Now look how dark that is on that side already. Really fun. I should now try this one. Put that one in there. And look how dark this is. I let that slobber all over the place, and look, it is dark. So, any other questions? Now we'll get it all mixed up. So, try it out. Use it as an accent piece on a wall hanging, or hey.
You could make mobiles out.
Yeah, right.
Christmas tree ornaments.
There you go. Christmas tree ornaments.
Green dye.
Put green on it and put red on it. So now you got all kinds of ideas. Creativity. Oh, and if like I said on this other one, if it breaks, it's a design opportunity.
Character.
Yes, indeed. Now that one is darkening down fairly good, but I'm really amazed how much this is darkened. That's going to be all black here in a minute. We'll have to really clean your lathe, Frank. Getting it all wet here.
Wife know you have.
Oh, this is a garage sale find. I guarantee you, I don't dare take those out of the kitchen. So, we have had a lot of fun with this, and I did a little research on it, and even on the tannin, there's tannin in grapes, and that they use that tannin to produce the correct amount of taste, the correct taste that they have. That it's all over the place. I don't know how many different species of trees they have that has tannin in it, but quite a bit. And they actually extract the tannin out and use it to, like he said, tan leather and stuff. So it's a pretty neat chemical that's found in there. How can we confuse you some more?
Thank you for sharing.
Hey.
Yeah, Moe, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Got there as your crew tonight that we can thank. I think I saw Norm there.
And Scott is here.
Yeah.
Scott is on at the control.
All right. And Frank, okay. Well,
Yep.
thank you all very much. We really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you bringing this all together.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this before.
It's neat. It's neat. And if you want to look it up, look up Pascal Audet, Oudet. And he's got a number of pieces on the internet that's really nifty. So look it up. It's nice. It's fun. It's fun. He's got some really pretty pieces. That one that is he's got it laying flat in front of his face, and it looks like it's almost 2 feet big. I don't know how big it is, but it's big. So he's done a lot of stuff like that. So different applications. So, okay, very good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you very much.